Hello, I'm VX3Cat and welcome back to another all texture pack video. These are videos I like to make on my channel every single time an update comes out for Minecraft on the console that brings in brand new items or blocks. In the case of this update, there's 64 brand new blocks and 2 extra items for 66 brand new items to check out in every single texture pack. The reason this is so interesting on console is because the texture packs are integrated into the game. This means that every single time an update comes out, the same art team that makes the art for them is also making the art for every single texture pack. I think there's like 15 of those now. So in today's video, I want to check out all the brand new items because there's not just 66 new items, there's 66 new items in all these texture packs for about 1,000 brand new textures. So that's what I'm going to be showing off in today's video. Hopefully you all do enjoy it. You can like the video if so because it helps out the channel, and let us know you do like these slightly longer but slightly more in-depth all texture pack videos. With that said though, let's get straight into talking about what the blocks we're talking about are, just in case you don't know what came in this most recent update, because we've got 16 colors of shulker box. I mean, they're probably going to be roughly the same across each texture pack. We've got 16 colors of concrete powder or dyed sand, and then we've got 16 colors of concrete itself. Again, the texture of it's, the concrete doesn't seem to vary too much, but black is always just a bit different for some reason. And then we've also got 16 colors of glazed terracotta. And honestly, if I'm being truthful with you, these are the ones I'm really looking forward to, because just look at them. I mean, like, they're such wacky things even in default. How much will they change in each texture pack? Will they just be the same in each texture pack? I don't know for sure, but that's what I wanted to answer. It's one of the things I wanted to answer in today's video, so that's exactly what I'll be doing. Oh, also, we've got the shulker shell and the iron nuggets. So let's go straight into the first texture pack, which is actually going to be the Adventure Time texture pack, the newest one. So let's go there now. So this is the Adventure Time texture pack slash mashup pack. It's a texture pack built into the mashup pack. This is the newest one that actually came out, and therefore they built all of these at the same time they built every other texture. Maybe that changes things, maybe it doesn't, but as we can see already, the shulker boxes are a little bit different because instead of being all of one color, they're actually half of the color they're meant to be, so they're half the dyed color, and then they're half pink on the bottom, so you can see only one color like directly matches up. All of the other ones are just like this kind of weird mishmash, which is nice for some of them. It's really weird for gray, but I think certain colors blend really well, like orange and pink go well, red and pink. I kind of like the way this goes. And also they've got hearts on them. Look at them. They're adorable shulker boxes where you can store little heart stuff. So I actually kind of like the way, like it's the same kind of vague idea, but they've actually changed up the way it's dyed quite a bit. I didn't know they could make a thing like that, and that's the thing they've done with the shulker boxes. So that's, kind of fine by itself. But then we've got the concrete powder, which has this interesting kind of like, snake pattern to it, which means that it actually wraps across. So you can see if we did have lots of black concrete, the same texture would go all across all of them. I think that has some benefits if you have lots of concrete powder, but for one, it just looks a little bit weirder. And then concrete itself, again, almost a pure color like you're wanting from a texture, but just with a little bit of changing across all of them. However, the interesting thing about this texture pack is, unlike the regular one, there isn't a different texture on black versus the rest, so maybe there's some benefits to that. So super colorful colors, super interesting stuff, and interestingly enough, the textures wrap on the concrete powder, which might be useful if you're using a lot of it. I think this is a better texture pack for concrete powder, and also it's a better texture. I was going to say a better texture pack for these colors, but I think these are actually exactly the same, just with a slight like contrast change maybe, or like a saturation change. But yeah, we got the glazed terracotta. Looks like it doesn't actually change from texture pack to texture pack, or at least not in this case, but the kind of coloring of it and the brightness of it seems to match the rest of the texture pack quite well. So yeah, they changed the like values of it, but not the actual pattern itself, which is very intriguing if you ask me. So let's move on to the second texture pack now, because it is the Candyland texture pack, as you can see right here. So this is just actually called the Candy texture pack, but everything in this texture pack is edible, or like an allusion to something that is. I mean, you can't literally eat stuff, but this apparently even includes the shulker boxes, which, if I'm not mistaken, are macaroons or macarons. I've never been sure how you pronounce them. I only had them like a few weeks ago, so like for the first time. So give me a break here. But yeah, these are those things that are very colorful. They look a lot better than they taste, but they're still pretty tasty, and that's what you get from shulker boxes. I'm talking about macarons more than talking about the box. But yeah, the textures are kind of nice. I think the dye is especially good, and I think the chocolate one right here is clearly the best color of all of them. So yeah, if you're gonna have the candy texture pack enabled, make sure you have brown shulker boxes above all the rest. Then we've got the concrete powder, which looks mostly like concrete powder. It's not even that edible if you ask me, and most interestingly, a lot of right here, you can see how the regular concrete is pretty much the exact same texture. Like for some of them, it's changing a little bit. Like this is a bit less white, and this is a bit less like black, I guess. But most the textures actually look very indistinguishable from each other. So if you want to have a build which, even if it gets submerged in water, doesn't really change too much, maybe this is the texture pack for you. It's a very interesting, like kind of aspect of a block that I never probably realized before. But yeah, I guess they can just make them the same in both textures. That's a very weird little thing. And then finally, we've got the glazed terracotta, which is not edible from what I can tell. And in fact, it is actually the same set of textures as well. It's slightly different. Again, I think they're changing like the contrast or the saturation, some one of those values with each of these, because it is blending it a little bit better each time, and it's a little bit different. But in this case, glazed terracotta just isn't blending perfectly perfectly at all with a candy texture pack, and it's very strange that they decide to keep it that way. So yeah, Glazed Terracotta looks like it might be one of the very few blocks in Minecraft which doesn't change across texture packs, and which, oh, this one blends in quite well, but which doesn't change across texture packs, and which kind of stays the same in all of Minecraft. Very interesting right there. And also, just finally, we've got the shulker shell, which is a macaron shell, so that's a nice little thing. And then we've got the iron nugget, which is just a circle. I actually like this a lot, like it's a lot easier to see. This is a good little texture right here. So with that said, let's move on to the next texture pack. So the cartoon texture pack is probably up there in terms of like my favorite texture packs in Minecraft, because it, you know, it changes things in this really it makes things nice. I think it's one of the better texture packs. You should check it out sometime. And one of the things that apparently changes is the shulker boxes, which have this very strange, I know it's like a military feel to the boxes, like they've got the brick texture going on. I don't know why you'd want like brick texture shulker boxes, like this doesn't blend too much at all, but there is something a little bit charming about some of these colors, at least, like the super bright blue one, the super bright red one. I know there's something nice-ish about these shulker boxes, and that's a thing that you get from them. So yeah, shulker boxes looking like, I don't know, sometimes okay, sometimes pretty bad. Then we've got the concrete powder, which is, again, I feel like it's actually looking like concrete powder would, like, which is not necessarily a good thing, but that's what it looks like. And then we've got the concrete, which is super colorful. Not quite as good as default for some reason, even though this is cartoon, but it's still got the colorful kind of vibe feel to it, which means that it'll be perfect for making your super cartoony builds. Although again, there's the weird little texture bits on there, which seems just a bit strange. Although again, it's consistent across all of them, and you can barely spot it at a certain distance. It's still just a little bit interesting that they did decide to do that. Then next up, we've got the glazed terracotta, of course, and glazed terracotta looks like it has had some changes, because not only have they changed the contrast ratio, whatever, but they've changed the contrast on this, but they've also changed it so that the you know, as you can see, it's got more black outlines on the black stained clay, the black glazed terracotta, and then we look at like the blue one right here, and it's not too much different, but you can see some of the colors have more or less emphasis. These black creeper faces have so much more going on for them, so I'm assuming they actually did decide to change certain colors like emphasis in this, which is very, very interesting. Like, look at the black on this, it's the same thing, and yeah, that means the glazed terracotta, again, it's not changing the pattern or the texture, but it's definitely changing like which colors are more emphasized, which means you get more for like, that's a very bizarre, you know, kind of appearance to have from something, and that's what you get from the glazed terracotta in this texture pack. Then, just in case you're curious, iron nuggets, like a little round ball, looks like a baseball or a snowball almost, and then we've got the shulker shell, which I guess about makes sense because it matches the shulker box. So with that said, let's move on to the Chinese Mythology pack. So this is Chinese Mythology. It's one of the newer mashup packs to release, and it's very Chinese feeling, as you might be able to guess from the name, actually. So in this texture pack, we've got some shulker boxes, which have this, again, this same line running through all of them. I feel like this is really great for having lots of them in a row. Again, that it means the texture wraps across them, which is pretty great. If you have a big line of shulker boxes, the Chinese Mythology mashup pack has you covered. But also for each of the individual ones, it looks great because it's got the little, I'm going to call them wings, but they're just squiggles really, that make this look, again, they blend in quite well in my opinion. And also, the way the shulker box is like kind of half hidden there, it looks like a chest, and I don't know, it matches very well is what I'm saying, and I quite like the shulker boxes first, right off the bat. So next up, of course, we've got the concrete powder, which, I forget how that, when you break stuff, it looks kind of interesting. But yeah, also if you look at the concrete powder, as you can see, it's about what you'd expect from concrete powder. Not much change has been made there. I guess there's not much you can do with it because it's meant to be such a colorful, just put in there block. And then we've got the, you know, super vibrant, you know, concrete itself, which I think in this texture pack, you know, besides a few of them, like it's noticeable there and here, could really make for some like bright colored builds that also look a bit old because you can just about see the fading, like, you know, this is a cracked brick wall texture in there, but only on some of them and only at like close distance. From a, you know, from a long way away, if you look over there, it just looks like solid color in one of the best ways possible. It's really quite interesting actually, if you ask me. So yeah, with that said, let's move on to the final set of blocks, which is glazed terracotta. Same kind of thing here, where it's got like a lot of emphasis on the black. Maybe it's been like that the whole time and I've only just started noticing, but it's definitely not the same way with this. So I guess they're just kind of varying each texture pack a little bit by a little bit, or maybe that's a glitch, or maybe something like that. I don't know. There's just a bunch of 8s on this, and why is that the case? I don't know for sure. So yeah, the textures here pretty much match default, or in fact, these might be exactly default. If there are some differences, I can barely spot them besides that up there, which is quite fascinating to say. Again, this is changing like the littlest bit sometimes, and sometimes so imperceptibly that I can't tell the difference. And maybe this whole time it hasn't changed, I've just been imagining it. But no, I'm pretty sure there's been some changes, but not with the Chinese Mythology. So do you want Chinese glazed terracotta? Well, maybe it's Chinese already, or maybe you just don't get that. I'm not sure which it is, but let's move on to the next one. So this is the city texture pack, and it's one of the better ones for builders. I feel like of the builders that I've seen and known and stuff like that, usually they tend to tend toward this one. So given that these are building blocks in the one of the most preferred building texture packs, let's see how well the blocks actually come across. And the first thing I'm noticing is that these right here, although they're shulker boxes, that's what they're entirely meant for and stuff, I feel like when you look at these colors like this, they really don't even need to be, you know, shulker boxes. They could just work as colored brick. This is kind of like stained brick in a way, because if we look at like, you know, these colors right here, they do just, like, look at, from the top at least, look at that texture. That would just be something great to build a wall out of, or build something colorful out of. And from any side, in fact, if you look at any of these sides, they all look really great just to, again, build a wall out of, which means I think actually, one could argue in this texture pack, this isn't shulker boxes at all, because, you know, let's be honest, like, who's playing survival in this texture pack? Maybe some of you, but maybe in this texture pack, it's instead that you get a stained brick instead that just happens to be openable in its chest. Like, it feels a bit magical even that you can do that, and that's something I find fascinating about this, because look at these colors. This is just this could be a beautiful wall if you did it like that, and I'm just saying, stained brick confirmed for the city texture pack. So then we've also got ourselves some, you know, like a concrete powder right here, which again, this is the city texture pack. I guess it has to look a little bit more like concrete, and then we've got concrete itself down under there. So concrete has some cracks going in there, so maybe that's something you have to kind of factor in when you're doing it. It's super colorful stuff though, so it's still going to work just fine. Again, look at the distance from me and the dropper box over there, or from that. It looks pretty much imperceptible. It just looks like, oh yeah, that's a sign. It's bright color, and that's what that looks like from over here as well. If you get a certain distance away from it, then you can't really spot that it's concrete or concrete powder. You just get two brand new blocks, a kind of lightly colored one and a very heavily colored one. So then finally, we've got the, okay, this is a big change. This is definitely different. We've got the glazed terracotta. This one seems to change the most, or it's the one I'm spotting the most. As you can see, just the color balance, the saturation is through the roof maybe. I'm not even sure what's changed here, but something has just gone crazy with the you know, this glazed terracotta. Then we've got the other colors, which seem, again, pretty much the same, but you can tell something's off with each of them. So like, you know, this used to just be like a very distinct swirls. Now the swirls blend in very well. This looks roughly the same, but like this has changed, and like the arrows have gone a little bit more like faded. The creeper faces, they're a bit more faded. It's very, very interesting how subtly these glazed terracottas are changing from texture pack to texture pack. But the big one, this is like the one they're just messing about the most, because look at this. This is like a demonic hellspawn floor. You could have this on like the floor of your Satan church, and it'd fit just fine, I think. So there, building ideas, stained brick, and also Satan church floor. There's two ideas from your favorite cat on the internet. So yeah, then we've of course got the shulker shells again. It's got a very bricky feel to it, and we've got the iron nugget, which looks, I guess, enough like a nugget. So yeah, let's move on to the Fallout texture pack next. Okay, Fallout texture pack. So this is part of the Fallout Mashup pack, of course, and it's from the Fallout series of games. Just in case you don't know, post-apocalyptic. How post-apocalyptic are these items though? Well, let's start with the shulker boxes, which for some reason, you know, it has the line going through, which we've seen before, but it's at a lower part of the box, which means, if I'm not mistaken, oh no, it works just about fine there. That's interesting. So yeah, if you look at the boxes themselves, they're pretty colorful. I mean, as colorful as the apocalypse can be, everything has to be dull and gray and stuff, so I guess that makes sense. But then if we look at the boxes themselves, they've got this nice little handle on the top. I'm not even entirely certain, but yeah, that is the shulker box right here. I guess it can never really fit into this update, into this, you know, texture. I guess these items couldn't really fit into the texture pack too well, and I guess that's something you're seeing right there. But then we look at these blocks over here, and again, I don't know, it just isn't really working too well. So I guess that's something that's worth mentioning. Then we've got the concrete/concrete powder, and I don't know what they did wrong here, but they've done something just a little bit out there. This is the first time it looks like they experimented properly with making concrete not really concrete. This is a swastika on it, so I guess that's probably questionable at best. So, but if we look at the other ones, you can see like we got a right angle. You know, I'm gonna be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of these. I think like I like the concrete powder. Like the fact that one of them looks like concrete is strange. The fact that all of these are like a little bit different textured is a bit strange. But the concrete itself, it's too weird to me that like you have your concrete and you dunk it in water, and then it changes into this. Like it changes into a different pattern each time, and it means that you only have a certain number of colors in this one. But on the other hand, you've got some really nice textures that maybe some builders could use. Like maybe you want to have like a building covered in like, I think they're going to need to change this at some point, by the way. I don't think someone saw what they did with that. That's a little bit questionable. But, you know, if you want to have a building covered in this, like, right angle kind of feel to it, you could do that. Like, because this and this combine to make, like, a really good combination. This checkerboard pattern, again, it looks a little bit like the transparent logo a bit, but I feel like you could probably use some of these in some way. Like, this could make some demonic fortress. So, I know there's some use for them, maybe. It's just not, I know, I like the colorful thing, but I guess I'm glad they tried with one of the texture packs. It's just I don't think this was maybe the right one. Or maybe it is, I don't know. I'm not a texture designer. All I can say is not a fan of what's going on here personally. Not a fan. Oh, and I have to know your opinions on it. Look at that. The dropper just gets covered in these weird cracks, and so does that. Not great in my opinion. But is that saved by the glazed terracotta? Is it post-apocalyptic? Okay, so Same dark outlines on the black here. Maybe they just... I'm so confused at this one. But then if we look at the other textures, it looks like these have actually changed. This is the first time, only for a little bit, they've actually decided to change the glazed terracotta, and only for some of them. Like, the red is the same, the black is the same, I think this is exactly the same, but the other ones have actually had some slight color changes. You can tell because these are pink arrows by default. I think this is pink glazed terracotta. Let's break it just to be 100% certain. It's magenta, you know, but let's call that pink. But for some reason, it's gone to this, like, different, I guess, magenta entirely, and the arrows look a lot more directive. Like, if we took all of these arrows out, if we wanted to, let's say, and we, like, placed a really giant straight line, like, you could actually have a very good directing line, I think. Like, it's a little bit better at that than the default one. It's a bit weird that it does work. Oh, it also works as, like, a go down. So yeah, there's something interesting about that. The crew faces on this one are a little bit more, they're the same color, but like they've got a different background, and there's just a few bizarre changes that happened here. So yeah, it does do the glazed terracotta change from texture pack to texture pack? Apparently, every now and then, certain ones of them will, and this is very, very strange to me. So yeah, that's what you get from this texture pack. Let's move on to the next one, shall we? It's everyone's favorite texture pack, everyone in this case being just Toycat, obviously, because it is the fancy texture pack. So yeah, the fancy texture pack is one which, you know, it's got a lot of gold going on there, but it really, it's the good texture pack if you want just the generic, like, this is the fancy theme, you know, things have gone a little bit more real, but a little bit more confusing. I like it a lot of people like it a lot too. It's probably one of the better texture packs they've made, and as you can see right here, it's got some interesting stuff going on. So I shouldn't sort of focus on something that isn't part of the video, but since we're here anyway, I'm sure you're okay with this. Isn't it interesting just how different the trap chests look to the regular chests? Like, they've got this big red outline that you can clearly see. I kind of like that. That's something I dig just a little bit. But yeah, let's talk about the shulker boxes first of all, because as you can see, they've got the similar thing from the other texture pack where, oh yeah, it looks a little bit like stained brick, honestly, but this one looks even more like that because there's not even the, you know, texture holding it down. So if you want to have like colorful bricks on your build, I feel like this texture pack would be great for that. Again, you can argue like, oh yeah, they're meant to be this or that, and in survival, it's not practical at all, but if you're a creative builder and you like to have fancy stuff, then you can make yourself some stained brick that could probably go pretty well with most of your brick walls. Then we've got concrete, which I think this is matching default, like almost entirely. The pattern's a little bit different, the colors are a little bit more muted, I would say, but as you can see, most of our stuff looks exactly the same, with the red being much more colorful and the gray being much less colorful. So yeah, you get more color from some things and less color from others. I guess that's to be expected. And then finally, we've got the stuff over here. Again, same thing, where like super dark black 8s here, but it's more of like a 8 with like filled air. You know, the colors have changed slightly on what's emphasized each time, but then we've also got the other ones which look, again, pretty much the same. I'm not spotting any huge differences, so I think this is maybe the exact same textures, but then with a similar, like, we're going to put emphasis on different colors here, so like this looks a tiny bit different. The black in this is more obvious, or like the, you know, like the arrows on this, like they're a little bit changed, but I think for the most part, they took the same textures, then they changed them a little bit and moved on with it, which I think, again, that seems to be like the right thing to do with glazed terracotta, and it means that glazed terracotta in some colors has this magical power. So yeah, that's the thing you get with this texture pack. You get yourself some very bizarre, so look at the arrows right there. You get yourself some very bizarre stained brick, you get yourself some pretty much standard concrete, and you get exactly the same with just a few slight differences to your glazed terracotta. So yeah, then here's the shulker shell and the iron nuggets. Let's move on to the festive texture pack, everyone's favorite texture pack for the June time of year. So this is the festive texture pack. Again, it's a perfect fit for June, I find. Just, you know, sometimes you get a little bit festive in the middle of the in the middle of the summer. So yeah, with that said, let's talk about what's going on with it, because I'm sure a lot of you are using this texture pack right now and you're like, oh, I'm so curious about these new blocks, and as you can see, they fit perfectly. I think these are meant to be like presents, but no, then they can't be. I'm not sure what's going on with this, but they do have a unique feel for these shulker boxes. Gonna say unique a lot because I'm not sure if I can say anything beyond that, so probably not a great set of shulker boxes, but the concrete powder is looking like concrete powder, so there's that. A little bit more patterned. I mean, it's not really festively patterned, but like, how can you really make, you know, like a concrete looks festive? I'm not too sure. The concrete itself looks just as colorful and fine as you might expect, and as you can see in some actual real world builds, it just about matches what you'd expect there too. In fact, it's almost exactly the same, just the floor is different, but that's not anything we're talking about. So yeah, this is, you know, pretty much standard texture pack with just some bizarre shulker boxes, which are meant to look like crates, mate. I'm just not sure what they're going for with that. I'm just not seeing it. So then we've also got over here, as you can see, glazed terracotta. The same emphasis of like, oh, things have changed a bit is definitely true here, but then here you can see they've actually changed the outline of the arrows, again, making them even more arrow pointy like, which might be your sort of thing, I guess. And then we look at every other color, they've got roughly the same thing going on. on. Again, slightly more emphasis on the white here and slightly more emphasis on different colors, which means that the same glazed terracotta is the same glazed terracotta, but the arrows are going to be slightly different and slightly different colored and focused in this texture pack than at least the other ones. Then we've got ourselves the iron nugget, and we've got ourselves the shulker box shell, which doesn't even match the, you know, whatever. It's a confusing texture pack. It's June. We don't have to worry about this right now, but I'm still a little bit confused at what's going on here. So let me know in the comments down below if you have a suggestion. I know it's going to be one of those things where everyone's like, no, it's like this is Santa's little box of magic. That's where he stores all the good names for stuff, and I don't even know. But yeah, I don't. Besides those, everything looks pretty standard, but just a little bit different. So let's move on to the next texture pack. So this is the Greek Mythology Mashup Pack, the mashup pack for all your Greek mythology needs, and the texture pack is something a lot of people do quite like. Like, the colors are just really different and often. I feel like a lot of people like this one if you like something a bit out there, and the shulker boxes seem to be no exception because they all have this great, again, wrapping texture of like, oh yeah, as you can see, or wrapping like, you know, with the W, not with they're spitting words quickly like what I'm doing right now. But yeah, basically if we actually look very closely at them, you can see how they've got like the sign for like, I think it's a lambda or something, and then I quite like the way that goes from like one to the other. It really matches the theme quite well, and if you have a lot of shulker boxes, that's going to look really great. So boom, shulker boxes looking pretty good. I kind of like them. The top's kind of fancy. Everything about this is kind of great, and as you can see, they look really great from the side on too. In fact, I'd argue they even look better from the side on. Just look at those like creepy eyes that are staring at me. I kind of like that. So yeah, this is the shulker box. Pretty good in this texture pack. Then we've got the concrete, which the powder itself is like a little bit messy, but maybe messy is what you like when you're going for that. And then we've got the concrete itself, which looks really, really good. I think this is one of the better sets of concrete. It's a little bit faded to match the rest of the texture pack, but as you can see, it looks just fine in most circumstances. A little bit less colorful than you'd like, but still, I really like the lack of like texture, even up close. I feel like that's great for just having a single block or two. Then we've got the, we've got real changes here again. We've got the glazed terracotta, where they did decide to just change some of the colors a tiny bit randomly. So instead of being red, this is orange right here. Instead of being like, you know, properly pink, this is like more of a pink gray. Instead of being there's something slightly off about all of these. I'm sure you can all see it too. This is slightly off. I don't know how to like even describe each of the colors, but as you can see, they made a lot of changes to this because glazed terracotta, honestly, is something that's basically a Greek idea. Like, you have a mosaic floor, and I guess because of that, they wanted to make some changes here to make it look even more mosaic-y, because look at this floor. It looks really like it's this old stone thing that could blend in with your super like Greek palace or whatever. So I guess that makes sense, particularly in like the way they've all got this like graininess to them. I don't know how to describe it, but like they all feel like they're like marble in the floor, like some form of like jewels on the floor, which is an interesting kind of feel that they managed to pull off right here. So I guess I kind of like that. Creeper floor, arrow floor, or like orange floor, you can do any of them and they'll work just fine in the Greek Mythology Mashup Pack. So I believe next we have Halo. The reason I'm doing Halo is because I'm on the Xbox One right now, and I figure let's do it anyway, but I won't be doing the Little Planet or the Super Mario Mashup Pack. But for now, let's go into the Halo Mashup Pack. So Halo is a series where every time I bring it up and I'm like, oh yeah, I only played the multiplayer, people are like, no, it's like that, you should have played the single player so you can understand how great a reference this shulker box is. But I think in this particular case, you can see these are just like vaguely meant to look like power missiles or something at base, like, oh, it's nuclear and it contains stuff, but it looks pretty great when you open it, like, oh, there's a secret little thing on the texture facing the back is there. So yeah, they actually look kind of nice when you place them, and when you place them at this angle, they do just look super colorful. So it looks like every shulker box in most texture packs has the same kind of thing where if you place them onto a wall, you get the same kind of like, it's a brick, but not quite a brick pattern, which is kind of nice. So yeah, these are like armored batteries or something like that. I'm not entirely certain, but it looks kind of interesting, and they've got little computers on them to let you know that they really mean business. Like, it's got yellow and black, the signs of danger, and then we've got a computer. So dangerous little missile things, watch out, they could contain explosives. Then we've got the concrete powder, which as you can see, super, like, I guess, washed out is a good way to describe it. It matches the rest of the texture pack, so I guess that's fine. And then we've got the concrete itself, which I like the textures of. Like, you can barely spot it, it's the same as default, but like, again, a little bit washed out, and I guess it's kind of fine because when you look at, oh, that's a bit weird, but when you look at them at normal stuff, it actually just about, again, vaguely looks the same, just a little bit more muted. Like, look at that red, it's barely even a red. It's like, that could be like gray from this angle. I mean, maybe I'm slightly colorblind or something, but still, that looks really, really gray and not red, right? That's just my opinion on that, and that's something you get from the concrete powder. Then we've got the glazed terracotta, where, oh, they've gone from black and red to black and orange to just black and black, because, you know, that's their favorite color. It looks like they've made quite a few changes right here, such as muting the creepers quite a bit. I guess creepers and Halo don't make too much sense together, but they've actually changed quite a few of these colors and made, I guess, very muted might be the word I use again, you know, like kind of colors across all of this. But the one thing I really like is this right here. I feel like this would be perfect for, again, if you're going to use any of these for a floor, I don't think it's going to be most of these, like this texture doesn't make much sense, like maybe the arrows, but I think this is one that really fits the Halo colors that you're looking for, like the sci-fi, like, I'm just going to make a noise like pew pew kind of noise that you kind of feel you're going for, and that is what I quite like about this. Then if you haven't seen fireworks yet, they look like this, which I think is kind of great, and then there's the shulker shell, and there is the iron nugget. So let's move on next to the Halloween 2015 mashup pack. Oh, there might be one this year, but for now we got Halloween 2015. Let's go there now. Just for an interesting bit of trivia, at some point in the last few updates, they removed the regular Halloween mashup pack, texture pack, and replaced it entirely with the 2015 mashup. Like, they were basically the same thing before, but you could use either, but now you're forced into using just this one. I didn't know that, and that's a fun thing you might like to know. But yeah, looking at this texture pack, you can see that all of the shulker boxes are kind of like safes, I guess, but they're safes that open from the top. It's a very weird, bizarre thing, but that's the shulker boxes. Not much to say about them. I like the coloring on them. I like the way they, yeah, I think they're better individual boxes, but I guess that's the thing you get from them. So yeah, as a block, not too great. As a shulker box, pretty good, which it seems bizarre to say it like that, but that's a real thing. Then we've got the concrete powder right here, which as you can see, same kind of thing, bright colors and stuff. But then we've got the concrete itself, which is used to have a bunch of spooky blocks. I feel like this year you'll be able to make some extra spooky stuff because we've got some bones or some spiders or some moons. Every single one of these blocks have been changed to have something on there. We got the spooky ghost there again, and honestly, I mean, I guess this is kind of okay. Like, if you wanted to build super vibrant stuff, you probably weren't using this texture pack because it's so dark to do so. And plus, you can still kind of do so because look, everything there just about makes sense. It's just, oh yeah, my stuff is covered in like white bars. That's covered in like spider webs maybe, and that's covered in ghosts and bones, and it's a bit strange, but I guess that's kind of fine right there. So yeah, as you can see, witch hats and stuff. I guess these are, yeah, we got little cats there. So I guess this is the best texture pack because we have a cat block. This is officially confirmed, right guys? We got officially a cat block for ourselves in one of the texture packs. Isn't that lovely? So yeah, this I think this is maybe the best bit of the update. So if you have the Halloween 2015 mashup pack, you can now build with cats just non-stop all day every day, which you should totally be doing. But let's look at the glazed terracotta, which again, same thing. It's interesting. This seems to like, it's making like a slow progression where like, oh yeah, same idea, just all black, and then like same idea, let's change the colors a little bit, and everything here, like, it feels like it has a dark glow applied to it, like, you know, maybe there's like a slight gray filter over eyes. I guess it's better for spooky houses this way, but that's something you get out of it. Like, look at all the colors. This was like bright red with a bit of white and a bit of like black, and this is now just like brown, just non-brown. I mean, different colors are brown, but brown nonetheless. Everything has this like vague black and white feel to them that makes me feel like my whole life has a black and white filter applied to it, and I'm not a big fan of it, but I guess it works for what you're doing here. So yeah, things are very strange in this update, but we got a cat block, so I guess that's fine. So yeah, let's move on next to the, it's something, I don't actually know what comes next. Let's find out. It's the Mass Effect texture pack, everyone's favorite texture pack to forget about entirely until it comes up in one of these videos, because yeah, Mass Effect's a good game, and the Mass Effect texture pack world was pretty good, but if you want to use your, you know, your regular worlds for Mass Effect, it kind of ruins them, and we can kind of prove this in quite a few ways, such as looking at the llama or looking at the wooden man. Just looking at any of these things is a good example. But let's show you the shulker boxes first of all, which as you can see seem to be like green underneath with a few red spots. But yeah, they're just green for one side and then slightly colored on the top. I mean, I guess that might be appealing to some. No, I'm just not seeing it. I'm sorry, I just don't get it. But maybe this is your thing. Maybe you look at this and you're like, oh yeah, it's like, this is the best block you've ever shown off in any texture pack ever. How are you not loving it? But I don't think that is the case. But maybe it is, and if that is you, then good job. I'm glad you're enjoying something. So then we've got some concrete powder, very textured on the concrete powder, not very textured on the concrete, about what you'd expect, so it means you make some nice, beautiful things. Again, you can't really do that quite so well because the other blocks confuse it a bit, but the TU53 really even matches the Mass Effect logo quite well there, so that's an interesting coincidence. Spooky, like, I was gonna say like a conspiracy or something, but it's not. Then we've also got that over there. Looks just fine, looks about normal, so concrete works just fine here. It's just the other blocks that get a bit weird, like what even is that? So yeah, with that said, let's move on next to the glazed terracotta, and as you can see, glazed terracotta looking super colorful. Like, this is like, they changed the focuses from you know, black and black to like back to black and red, but mostly on the red over here. And then we look at the other blocks, again, very subtle, very slight changes. We're very far away from the standard ones, that's for sure right now. Like, this is very red, like it shouldn't be, and I guess that's kind of nice that they're changing them a little bit while keeping the same vague pattern, so it will make sense in each texture pack. It will just change what the focus and the emphasis is. So I guess that's nice, and that's probably the best way they could do it. And just in case you haven't seen this before, because I definitely haven't, here's what the end portal frames look like, and whoa, that's weird, right? So yeah, let's move on from this one. Let's throw our shulker shell into the end, as well as our iron nugget, and let's move on next. Also, ooh, look at these. Just by themselves, I don't know, there's lots of finishing blocks in this texture pack, and we're going to move on from this to the next one. Look, you know, no, we're not. We're going to talk about the llama. This is why this texture pack is terrible. Like, this was meant to be a llama. This is meant to be like a map, and they don't really, whatever. Let's move on to the next texture pack. So we have one of the first 2 texture packs ever released for Minecraft on the console again. It's the natural texture pack. This is what people like from Minecraft, because it just feels like, oh yeah, things look a bit more like the real world or something. I know, a lot of people like it, and that means that the shulker boxes are a particular note, because they have this very interesting, like, it feels like a Tetris piece thing going on together here. Like, it's very strange on the side, but from the top, it's got this lovely, like a window kind of thing. Like, if we look at these from the side, they've got this really nice kind of texture to them, so I guess that's nice. Looks nice and natural, you could say. I mean, I'm not sure how this is natural, but it does look a bit more like, you know, like colorful, and not colorful, I'm not sure what the word is, but like, it looks more like a real block than before, if you want this kind of interesting look to it. Not my thing, but it's something you might quite like. Then we've got the concrete powder, which, as you can see, it's concrete powder. Honestly, there's not very much I can say about this besides the same thing of like slightly less colorful. Maybe that's what you're looking for if it's natural, because it blends a bit better, like TU53 and the dropper looks kind of like that. Or it's not even a dropper, is it? That's a block update detector, the detector block. So then we've got the actual glazed terracotta. Glazed terracotta looking roughly like it does normally. This is totally not normal. This is very faded in, but every block seems to be a little bit different. I guess they all fade a bit better than normal because they're not allowed to be quite so bright, but it's something quite interesting. And then we've got this one, of course, which in my opinion, I don't know, I think this might be the best of the batch in this texture pack. I don't know what I love about it so much, but all the other ones, they're like a little bit dark and faded and stuff. And this one still has its lovely little, you know, like ninja blade finger on the middle. So yeah, that is this texture pack's all of textures. Let's move on to the next one. So this is the pattern texture pack. The pattern texture pack is, of course, the... I know, it's one of the most recent ones. It might be the last texture pack that ever did release. And everything in this texture pack has a slightly different pattern on it. So triangles for the ground, Glassstone has this weird thing, and the shulker boxes have their own little weird, like, oh yeah, it's like covered in ooze or something. So yeah, I guess I kind of like these. Like, I guess they blend in an interesting way, and I guess they're colorful, so that's kind of nice. But I'm not sure there's too much I can say about it besides, like, I guess it's kind of bricky from this side, and maybe you want bricky, or maybe you don't. That's a thing you get to the side too. But yeah, it's consistent across all 4 sides, at least it seems. So if we take this block and we put it over here, you can see how it's the same from each of the sides. So if you wanted to, let's say, you know, like build a tower or something, you would be able to hide like the flat face pretty well, which again, I think this is one of the few cases where the side texture is better than the flat one. Maybe that's just me, but if we did build a giant, like, you know, kind of staircase just like this, you can see how then from the sides it has the same texture, and it just looks like a brick thing, but like a sideways brick. Maybe you like sideways brick, maybe you've always wanted sideways dyed brick with oozes on them, but that's what this texture pack provides, even if you did or didn't. Then we've of course got the concrete powder. Concrete powder's looking pretty good actually. It's got there's so much of like a blur to it, a fuzz to it, I guess you could call it, that I guess this is a, you know, I guess that really works quite well in that way. And we've also got the concrete itself, which is covered in bubbles and squares and circles. Isn't that lovely? I think that's lovely. And as you can see, when you put it on normal stuff, you can't even see the bubbles, except on that. You can totally see the bubbles there. This just looks like a carbonated drink, but it's title update. So I guess that's something you get from this texture pack. You get bubbles, and bubbles are nice, I guess. Then we've got the glazed terracotta, again, changing things pretty massively. It's weird because this is the pattern texture pack. This is where this stuff would make the most sense to your figure, like, because they're all patterns, but it looks like they've mostly just, you know, gone for like slightly different emphasis, which is nice. I mean, everything looks a little bit different at the very least. This is very colorful. You know, they're all very colorful, they're all very patterny, and I guess that makes sense, except this one, which has lost all of its color and which has the patterns not line up correctly for some reason. Like, that doesn't, something went a little bit weird there, if you ask me, but that's just what you get from this texture right here, and this is what you get from this texture pack. Shulker shell, iron nugget. Let's move on to the plastic one, which is going to be the most interesting, because you got to bear in mind, concrete and like all of its variants in each of the texture packs, they all look like they're plastic texture pack blocks because they're just so bright and single colored. I wonder how bright and single colored they'll be in plastic, or if maybe they'll just be something else, like be replaced with, like, you know, different colors. I don't know. Let's wait and let's see in the plastic texture pack. So this is the plastic texture pack, and like I said, everything looks a bit like concrete, right? Like, look how smooth the grass is, look how smooth the white colors are. So let's look at how smooth all of the other blocks are. So shulker shells, immediately same thing with like the texture wraps in a really nice way. Really bright, really colorful, single colored block. Like, even from the top side, like, as you can see, it just looks like a really, like, beautiful thing to have there. I guess they kind of, oh, that's a weird texture glitch, right? Ah, we found a glitch. Awesome. Heck yeah. So red shulker shells. Either I'm doing something wrong here, or they have a slightly animated texture that they're not meant to. Maybe they, wait, maybe it's not a glitch. Maybe they're all animated on purpose. Like, have we, what is this? This is so strange. Because it only looks like the red one. Like, I can't see it on the other colors. Like, you can definitely see it's fading a little bit. Maybe a glitch, maybe it's not, who knows. But let's move on to, so as you can see, looks really nice from the side. I think this is probably the best top texture because it just looks like concrete again. And that means you have another set of colorful blocks to play with, because look at that. That's so nice. But let's talk about the concrete powder, which, I mean, I guess the concrete powder, it's got the really like thick kind of thing to it. And then the concrete itself, which interestingly enough, isn't as single colored and vibrant as before. Like this isn't, you know, this is a valuable block, but this looks more like, you know, like, I guess this right here looks like granite. This looks a bit like andesite. They just look like those blocks because I guess there's not much you can do with the whole thing. I don't know why they made like the extra blocks on there. They could have just made the most vibrant, colorful thing. But I guess maybe you have enough of that in this texture pack, so they made them instead these weird, you know, like, they fit together in a strange way blocks. But maybe that's what people like. But if you look over here, this is what it looks like in practice. Very, like, solid individual blocks rather than, like, a big color going across. And that is fascinating to me that it works like that. I mean, it actually looks kind of good. Like, I actually like these logos in particular, but it's still very strange and not quite what I was expecting. Then we've got the glazed terracotta. Have they made this more basic? They have not. So these are the most complex textures here, because most of the texture pack, if you look at it, is 8x8. Like, if you can see, like, this is really big stuff, this is really big stuff. Everything they've done is like really big for the most part. It's not all like exactly 8x8, but you can see most of it's very, you get the point, right? Also, glowstone has an animated texture here too. So yeah, but you get the point, that's how things are. But then if we look at the glazed terracotta, this is just like so complex, like maybe 32x32 or something. Lots of, oh, not 32x32, but it's 16x16, but with like lots of detail going on, which makes it a very odd standout from the rest of the texture pack. So that's something interesting you might not have known. Also, for some reason, I didn't even spot this, the yellow shulker boxes are green. What is yellow green in this? Is this yellow right here? So yellow is green. Is what? Wait, one sec. Sorry. No, this is not acceptable. How does that? So all the colors look like the colors they are, and then that's yellow. So this is orange, right? This is orange. This is brown. That's brown. This is white. Yep. Wait, let's confirm. White. And then this is yellow. What? What? But. Okay, you know what? Fine. Yeah, that's the way the world works. I hope you like your orange shulker box. That's a glitch. That has to be. There's no way why would they? In what world is that? Whatever. Anyway, let's move on to the next. Okay, so this is the Skyrim Mashup Pack. The Skyrim Mashup Pack is the second to last, if I'm not mistaken, and as you can see, it's looking pretty Skyrim-y. I don't know what Skyrim means in that context, but it's got the same, these shulker boxes at the very least have the same texture on all the sides, and it's this weird, like, candelabra thing, I guess. I don't know what you even call that. Like, is it the golden claw, maybe? I'm not entirely certain, but it looks kind of nice, as you can see. Kind of works, kind of great. That's a fun thing. You know, not quite as great a building block, but really good for having an individual block you can just take with you. And you know what the best bit about this one is? If you look at the yellow shulker box, it's yellow. Whoa, that's the craziest, most mind-blowing thing, right? So yeah, if you look at the actual blocks on the side right here, same kind of thing. We're like, oh yeah, they blend together interestingly. Like the texture wraps both directions, so you make these little squares. And I guess that makes it better for building blocks in some specific ways. But then finally, we've got the concrete powder, which looks very muddy, I guess I describe it. And the concrete itself, which although it's like not a very colorful color, it does, you know, again, it blends with the kind of theme we're going for right here, where everything looks, again, look how muddy that is. Like, these look like stone bricks, those look like, it's interesting actually. They've got a very clear defined outline too, so that's something you might like. One more time, look how grey it is, that yellow is yellow. That's just mind-blowing to me. And then we've also got the glazed terracotta over here, which again, very, maybe this whole texture pack is actually covered in brown, I just didn't spot it. But look how muddy these all look. Like, it looks like, in the same way the other one looked like black and white, it looks like I've just, you know, put my face in some mud and I haven't quite got it all out yet. And I mean, look at this. I mean, look at all of these. There's something very weird about these textures, but maybe that's the whole texture pack. Maybe it's meant to look a bit brown because that's how Skyrim looks. Maybe I'm insulting Skyrim right now, and that the Skyrim is just a brown game. I'm not entirely certain, but that's something I've only just spotted, and it's something that's a bit weird. So with that said, let's move on to the final texture pack, the Steampunk texture pack. So just to quickly correct something, the Halloween texture pack does still exist, it's just all the way at the end, right here next to the Steampunk texture pack. So the Steampunk texture pack is very steampunky, futury and stuff like that, and as you can see, the shulk boxes are no exception. These look like they're like iron-clad stuff, and although I don't think these textures blend well together, I think if you had lots of the same block, you could have this really interesting like metal wall made out of them. So that's nice. From the top, again, not quite so nice, but still, it's great that you have like brand new textures from this block. It's meant to be like a survival utility block, but it also works as a brand new creative block. And again, look how good it looks right there. So then as you can see right here, we've also got, wait, actually, did they make the same mistake as the other one where like, no, yellow's definitely yellow, my bad. So then we've got the concrete powder right here, which as you can see, looking pretty nice in the powder form. In the concrete itself form, same thing where I guess they had to change the colors a little bit to match the different palette right here. But that new palette, I don't think is quite as nice as the default one, so can't be recommending that. But again, if you're in Steampunk, you probably prefer that anyway. Then we've got the glazed terracotta, which seems to be massively changed. Like, look at this. This is so trippy, I guess you call it. Then we've also got like these arrows, just bright red instead. Lots of strange changes made to each of these, but I guess you can't really fault them. And especially this one, it makes the arrows very vibrant and clear. And if that's what you're looking for, if you're making an adventure map or something, you get some good stuff going on right there. Also, look at this. This is strange too. So yeah, lots of strange changes, but I guess they're not bad overall. And then if we can combine that with the concrete being, again, it fits the textures quite well, then you get this kind of steampunky set of blocks, I guess you could call it. Which, just as a tiny little thing, the iron nugget doubles as like a screw, and I do quite like that personally. So yeah, if you wanted to make a map, then iron nuggets being screws is pretty great. If you wanted to make like a giant wall out of like a brick, not even brick, like I guess metal bricks or something, that's what you get from that. And in general, not a bad texture pack. So let's move on. Oh, I did that wrong. Oh, it's because it's the wrong item. So let's fly through the air and talk about what we've learned today. I think the biggest thing was that the plastic texture pack has some mistakes being made there, or is the strangest decision making ever. Oh, I set up Alexa there. I think also we've learned that I think what we've also learned is that certain texture packs change the colors a lot. Glazed Terracotta, though, is now the block that changes the least from texture to texture. Even its craziest changes, it still has the same pattern on there, which means if you want to have a floor that looks like a mosaic, it's going to look like the same rough mosaic in pretty much every texture pack, and that's some value you get from this block, or some value you don't get from it. I'm not entirely certain, but it's something I found massively interesting, and hopefully all of you did too. You can like this video if you did like it, you can share it if you really liked it, and you can subscribe if you're new around here, because I make videos like this one every single day on my channel, and if you subscribe, you'll see them daily on your homepage. I think this was the longest one yet, because this took an hour to record, so I'm so sorry about the length of going through all of it, but hopefully you enjoyed hearing all of my thoughts and seeing all of the new blocks, because I'll see you next time. Bye!